Another wild card we could see at this month's March event is AirPods 3, and we might be looking at some official models in today's video. Let's begin. So this leak kind of comes from multiple sources. So Duan Ri doesn't actually leak anything himself. He's normally scouring the web, looking at Weibo, and then kind of reposting things that he somewhat knows to be true or accurate. It's a bit confusing. Sometimes he has original content, sometimes he doesn't. But the point is, in the past, he's been pretty reliable with iPhone leaks. iPhone SE he knew about many months before it came out, and even tweeted out updated designs and such. He posted this concept image from Gizmo China, who apparently knows the dimensions and knows the aesthetics of AirPods 3, and they do kind of line up to a lot of the previous reports we've been seeing from earlier leaks about this being very similar to AirPods Pro, just without the rubber tip, though it was getting confusing because in more recent history there were actually quite a few renders showing AirPods with the rubber tip, but the narrower charge case. An incremental design for sure. It's almost like AirPods 2 and AirPods Pro had a baby, and this is the monstrosity they came out with. But looking at the render they've developed, it does give me hope that this will be more of a universal fit like AirPods 2, because in my opinion, if you're not going to have active noise cancellation on your product, which AirPods 3, that's what they're rumored to be, normal AirPods just without the ANC, but with a design improvement, the rubber seal isn't really going to do much for you. That's going to create some passive noise cancellation, but in my opinion, if you're going to be putting on headphones without ANC, it's better to just have the audio itself drown out your surroundings, and then when you pause the music, you can hear surroundings fine. So in my opinion, it's better to default with transparency mode than to default with passive noise cancellation, because then you hear every little tiny motion your jaw makes and you really can't hear your surroundings that well anyway. So you kind of axe out the transparency mode option at all. So having no rubber tips included, in my opinion, is the way to go. But the story got more interesting once some images appeared online of an IRL photo that kind of lined up with Gizmo China's render pretty accurately. And this leak came from Leaks Apple Pro, who has a very questionable track record. In the past, I think I've seen him straight up lie to people, which is why I would say take everything he tweets with a grain of salt. But the photo he tweeted does seem pretty legit. It doesn't really appear to line up with any kind of knockoff AirPods clones, and it really almost right to a T lines up with what Duan Ri is tweeting. Even 9to5Mac is showing these updated photos, so knowing that they've been in development for a while and also that there's a March event later this month, it makes me think it's possible we could get the AirPods 3 refresh pretty quickly. But at the same time, pretty much ever since the AirPods were unveiled in 2016, Apple has never designated screen time in an Apple event for AirPods. Kind of confusing and kind of bizarre. I don't know why they choose to do that. I honestly think AirPods Max would have been a great opportunity to come out on stage and explain the design choices and explain all the great benefits and all the hard work that went into that design. But no, even though they had a 40-minute Mac event in November, they still decided to wait for a site refresh with AirPods Max, which is why, in case some of you were wondering, I didn't include AirPods 3 in yesterday's video talking about the March event. I think that the launch could be imminent and it could be soon, but for some reason, part of me doubts that they would want to designate stage time to it. I feel like something about Apple and AirPods doesn't want to bring up stuff on stage, and the design, while new and a bit unique compared to previous generation AirPods, in my opinion, isn't that different, and the fact that Apple didn't want to talk about AirPods Max on stage makes me feel like, why would they want to talk about this on stage? Like, oh yeah, we developed some of the coolest over-ear headphones with amazing sound quality with the best transparency mode ever, and this really intricated hinge technology and all this modularity with customizable cushions and all that. Yeah, that's just going to be a newsroom post. But these AirPods that don't have active noise cancellation but kind of look like AirPods Pro, yeah, that we want to designate about 20 minutes to on stage because there's so much to talk about. So they're not as good as AirPods Pro, but they're still pretty good. I don't know, this type of refresh, in my opinion, has newsroom post smelling all over it, so who knows? In my opinion, these could even get launched before the March event takes place, as crazy as that sounds. Apple did actually announce new iPads and new AirPods and new Macs a week before the March event in 2019, which was kind of weird. I get that that was mostly a services event, so they decided to update the hardware beforehand, but I don't know, I'm just saying, Apple seems to like being unpredictable, and they seem to figure out that everyone around them is expecting a certain thing, so they will intentionally do the opposite sometimes. And something tells me that, like, Apple's not gonna do just an all-out, completely packed March event. Like, new iMacs, new Apple Silicon, new Mini LED iPad Pro alongside AirTags, a new Apple TV, and new AirPods, and a new game controller, and all that. Like, I'm looking at past March events, and Apple has never really gone too crazy with them. So I'd love to be wrong here. Obviously, it would be awesome if they decided to have a completely packed March event where they announce a whole bunch of stuff, but I keep thinking that's gonna happen throughout each year, and it never really does. It's always just a couple of things, maybe a third thing, but it's never that exciting. So if you're in the market for AirPods, you might want to wait a tad longer, because it sounds like the launch could be any day now or 6 months from now, from all we know. We are not very helpful in the tech community, are we? Either way, I thought the rendered images and the leaked images looked pretty neat, so I figured I'd share them with you all. Appreciate you all for watching. This is your Apple Sheep here. I will see you guys in the next one.